folks who are listening, this is what it sounds like when somebody's typing on Slack when a webinar is happening. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible. And get your logo on here somewhere. So A, they appreciate the gift because it's an epic gift, right? If I got this as a gift from somebody, I would love them forever. Security and privacy. People are not wanting to give their details as much as they once did in the past. And that's why registrations are not as high as they once were before. So that's the same thing with virtual events. If you're going to give out gifts, think about people around them, not just the person. Because sometimes satisfaction comes from them giving satisfaction to somebody else.
Can you tell me a little bit about like what you mentioned, like COVID kind of changing expectations of webinars, the quality and everything that people put into producing webinars. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of the expectation of attendees? Like, what are they expecting out of showing up to a webinar? What can people do to get people to show up at a webinar?
All right, so do we want to maybe start from the registration point, actually?
Yeah.
Like, we go from registration to getting them to the webinar and then what they expect, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could, yeah, it could be like from the topic, like even before registration, like topic selection, like go wild.
Ooh. All right. So topic selection, look, in a nutshell, because we just spoke about that previously, but in a nutshell, you trust your team, speak to everybody in your team about what they're talking to about with clients, prospects, with their partners, because you know, if you're working in software, if you're working in any company, any industry, you will have partnerships. You speak to your partners, see what they're also talking about, and try to invite them to talk in your sessions. And that's how you're going to build that topic. How do you know that topic is going to be relevant and succeed? You try it. That's the beauty of it. You try it. But here's the thing: like a lot of people, they'll use a newsletter and social media to promote their webinars. And fair enough, newsletter, great. You're nurturing your leads. You're nurturing the people that already know who you are. Social media, depending on how you get that organic reach, you're not going to get as many registrants from social media as you do from your newsletter. So your newsletter is going to be the highest registration count. But then folks will put money on their social media ads, and you'll see cost per sign up is ridiculous. Sometimes you can get $200 per sign up, and that person won't even attend your webinar. You've paid $200 for somebody to not even attend. Honestly, you can cry about that, you know?
Yeah.
So there's other channels that you should leverage. You've got your team, you've got your sales team, you've got your partnership team, you have your CSMs, you've got your SDRs, BDRs, just your entire sales and partner team. Ask them, politely, of course, to reach out to who they're talking to and say, hey, look, are you interested in SEO? Are you interested in X topic? Oh, by the way, we have this webinar coming up. You will see your registrations skyrocket. Your newsletter will be competing with those teams then, and then you'll see who is better per webinar. Because at the end of the day, you want to generate new leads with webinars. Webinars should be the cheapest form of lead generation in your pipeline. If you're putting money on adverts, you're either retargeting specific accounts, or you know very well that that's going to work very well on an advert, and you're going to have a low cost per sign up. But I wouldn't risk it, especially if you have a certain budget that you want to keep. Then you have the media outlets, paid media outlets that I mentioned earlier, and it could be on a specific topic. So if your webinar is on localization, something about localization, localizing your webinars, localizing anything, there are outlets that you could sponsor with banners, and you could test them out. I'm not saying they're going to work for you, but you should test them out to see what quality of lead you get from it and the cost per that lead. And one program, which is, in my opinion, the most fun, might not be the most effective sometimes, but the Advocate program, so using employees to share the word. That's also another way, and you have prizes if you have the advocate program. Oh, so and so got posted 10 times this week. Wow, you get a Zuddle mug. I will compete in that because I do like my mugs, or something like that.
Yeah.
So then you get to the turnout stage, right? So you got your registrants. Let's say you've done so well, you've got like a 600 registrants, 1,000 registrants for your webinar, but now you've only got 30 people coming. How did that happen? Well, people are busy. Veda, you're very busy yourself. And out of curiosity, if something is not in your calendar, do you think you're going to remember that?
Most definitely not.
Exactly, right. So if you have a webinar program and you do not have a webinar calendar, you don't have a calendar invitation, a blocker in your invite or your confirmation email, that is, your webinar's gone. It doesn't even exist. I've signed up, but I'm gonna forget tomorrow, just because I've got this many things to do today and tomorrow. And reminders, even if it's in the calendar, the reminder will definitely help. And if the reminder has a bit of, and I hate to use this word, but FOMO, reasons to join the webinar. So if you join, we'll get you an Uber Eats coupon. You'll have potentially a freebie, or this webinar will not be recorded and it's going to include XYZ information that you won't be able to find elsewhere from this specific expert. People will then be like, oh, I better join this. But saying that, I have tried this webinar won't be recorded, and it backfired very badly. And it goes to the expectations of an attendee nowadays. People, they just expect the recording to come to them the next day. And on this landing page a few years ago, I tried, this webinar will not be recorded, you must attend live, to see if the attendance rate would go up. It did, but the people that didn't join started messaging the webinar's email channel, messaging their CSM, the sales channel, hey, where's my recording? When are you going to send it to us? And you're not going to tell them, hey, sorry, learn your lesson. We didn't record it. We sent the recording. Of course. We didn't even tell them that was written. It was like, no, don't say anything. Just send it. Don't. If you have any questions, let them reach out, please. It's not making,
No unhappy customers or prospects.
Oh yeah, no. One other thing though is if you use the reminders with the FOMO and all, people also use a week before reminder. The week before reminder is great only if you add additional information. If you don't have any additional information to share about the webinar, that's sort of like spam in that case. People are going to see that okay, I got a webinar 1 week. Should I buy a new shirt for the webinar that I need to do this now? Or what do I have to do,
Yeah.
And there's another thing, people dropping out during the webinar as well. That's another, I think, challenge that a lot of folks have, and also people not returning to your webinar series. So you have people dropping out early, and then you have people that don't return.
Yeah.
And by the way, kudos that those analytics are in Zuddle, because that really saves me a lot of time in reporting and our team.
How do you think about things between events? So you mentioned, getting people to come back to your series. Is that something that you track? Is that an important metric to you? People return attendees to your webinar, and what does that tell you about your program?
Ooh, so that's the thing. That's something that I measure internally for myself. So when we're choosing topics, and I see, let's say the topic is AI, returning attendee is not going to be something that's super valuable to maybe the salesperson, because they see the whole journey that this person has had. They've had a gated content piece downloaded. they've had a webinar, they've been to an event that we've hosted. So the returning thing for webinars, that's strictly for me. Of course, I do gloat about it. If somebody's come a few times, I'm like, hey, this is somebody that likes our stuff. Woo! Send that person a nice shirt. But yeah, generally, that is something that is important to me. Like you said, we know what kind of content is relevant to that person. So that person could be only coming for AI topics or for feature topics. If somebody's coming only for the feature focus or product related topics and they're not a user yet, they're not a client yet, that says a lot. That's them. It's sort of them saying, I'm interested in your topic. Please, I want to learn more. Reach out to me. And if you don't, you stand the chance of losing that prospect to a competitor who will do that. Because that person's not only looking at your product, they're looking at countless other competitors. You might be in the top 3, but now you've got to earn that top position. And webinars are a great way to go at that, given that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just one thing, and I forgot to mention this, it just popped up, regarding microphone or camera. A few years ago, we had a really great person who knew a lot of things about AI and localization, but didn't have a camera for sessions. And one of the things that we're going to say was like, all right, we won't use them because, we don't have a camera. No. If they don't have something, send them as a gift. Like, put your logo on it, for example. If it's a microphone, get them an actual, like something like this, and get your logo on here somewhere. So, they appreciate the gift because it's an epic gift, right? If I got this as a gift from somebody, I would love them forever. But then your logo is always going to be there. It might not be showing to the audience, but they might, praise, oh, this microphone I got from Zottle, example. That person actually did go off and show off the microphone that he got from us. But that's not always going to happen, right? You're not always going to have ROI from gifts. But sometimes, again, and this is another insight, it's not maybe just for webinars, and set up, but just feel free to, say shh to me at some point. But another insight that I've seen at in-person events, but this again could be done for virtual events. If you're giving gifts out, keep in mind that people, when they go to events, in-person events, they don't have time to look for a gift to bring back home to their spouse or to their kids or their dog or cat that they have. So if you could provide a solution to that challenge at an event, that is gold to them. They'll love you for that, and they'll come back, and that family member, whoever, or friend will have that great experience from your brand as well. So that's the same thing with virtual events. If you're going to give out gifts, think about people around them, not just the person. Because sometimes satisfaction comes from them giving satisfaction to somebody else. And then they're like, this company has given me a win. I'll take them. True story. That actually has happened at an in-person event a few years ago. So that's one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I think that's been a theme, I think, throughout this conversation. Going back to thinking about the attendee really valuing their time. So I think that perspective, like that really comes across in terms of how much you really care about the people that are showing up for your brand and how much you value their time and experience and adding value back. So that is great to see. And it clearly comes across even in the smallest of decisions that you're making. So yeah, love that. That's definitely a tip that I'm taking away from this, is to, really be thoughtful about people's time through every small decision that you could possibly make.
That actually, that's what you just said popped something else up. Micro, when you said small things. So everything nowadays is into like, it's like this trend is all micro. You have people, and we're hitting that mark soon actually. But in webinars, in any streams, you want to keep it to 45 minutes, depending on what the topic is, of course, and how much value you're sharing throughout that session. But sometimes you want to keep it to 45 minutes. Micro sessions, micro learning, because attention spans. We live in a world where you have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you're scrolling. You don't have, you literally, after 2 seconds of a video, you're like, no, next. It's sort of the same with these sessions. After 30 minutes, and like this is from statistics from like different webinars and like past times, also watching live the statistics, because I love that in webinars. Anybody who does webinars who's attending, I'm sure you also look at the number of attendees throughout the session, and you're just like watching it like, please don't drop, please don't drop. But at 30 minutes, it drops, and you're just like, no. And at 45 minutes, that decline is sharper. And then at 1 hour, again, sharper. Depending on the topic, of course, because if this topic is really interesting and you're giving a lot of value, that decline will not happen until much later when they actually have to do something else. But you're apologizing again. You're saying at 45, you're like, okay, look, we're supposed to finish now. If you have to go, we'll send you a recording. If you're staying on, thank you very much for your time. Back to that trend of appreciation.
Yeah.
Yep. So the second thing in the micro trends, and the trend of micro is also SEO is becoming micro. There's a new thing called micro SEO. Not new, but it's becoming a trend as well. So check that out as well, folks, in case you're looking at SEO. Micro SEO is something that you could look into. You didn't hear that from me.